Unit 13. Analysis. Recent research on brain function seems to indicate that most people have one dominant hemisphere, that is, one side that seems more in charge than the other. For perhaps 90% of people, this is the left hemisphere. Brainwave studies seem to indicate that the dominant hemisphere is somewhat more electrically active than the recessive one, and that the individual somehow relies on that particular hemisphere more than the other. The evidence does not suggest a clear-cut left-right dominance in all cases, however. For example, not all left-handers are right-brain dominant. About half of them have dominant left hemispheres, just as most right-handers do. Left-handers account for about 10% of the population, and they seem to vary in brain dominance more than do right-handers. Practice. 1. Many of us rely exclusively on the media for information on topics of current interest as, understandably, we do not have time to conduct our own, more thorough literature reviews and investigations. For business and political news, as well as for human interest stories, newspaper, radio, and television media do a good job of keeping us informed. But these topics are relatively straightforward to cover as they involve familiar people, terms, and places. Stories involving complex science are harder to do. Journalists covering these stories often do not have a scientific background, and, even with a scientific background, it is difficult to condense and simplify scientific issues for viewers or readers. Finally, journalists work on tight deadlines, often having less than a day to research and write a story. Tight deadlines also make it tempting to rely on activists, who are eager to provide information and colorful quotations. 2. The color spectrum of daylight is comprised of red, orange, yellow, blue, green, indigo, and violet. But water acts as a filter on the color spectrum of light. Consequently, the color composition of light changes progressively with the depth. Just 2 inches beneath the surface, all the infrared rays of the color spectrum are absorbed and scattered by the water. Within 20 to 30 feet, all the reds have been filtered out. Orange is the next color to go. Then yellow vanishes, and then, one by one, the other colors disappear until from about 100 feet only indigo and violet remain. This creates the blue-green cast characteristic of most waters. Blue and green are simply the only 2 colors that exist in deeper water depths, so everything appears to be blue-green. 3. A drastic increase in the use of fossil fuels since the Industrial Revolution greatly increased the rate at which humans were and still are adding to the entropy of the planet in the form of pollutants. Because Earth is a closed system, these pollutants have always been present on the planet. The reason for negative impact of pollutants on the environment is not because they exist, but because they have been dispersed throughout the world's ecosystem in a very disordered manner. Carbon and sulfur have no impact on the environment when they are locked up in the highly ordered form of coal. They become pollutants only when the coal is burned and the combustion products are released into the atmosphere. So, can solar energy be used to counterbalance increases in entropy caused by the use of fossil fuels? Yes, as long as the rate of increase in entropy due to fossil fuels is less than the rate of decrease in entropy from solar radiation, the net entropy on the planet will not increase.